Every few decades, an architect looks at a messy, sprawling city and has the same audacious thought. What if we just built one of everything? Stacked the entire city into a single object, kilometers tall, and never had to leave it. I'm an architect, and what you're looking at is a skyline that doesn't exist. These are the vertical cities we designed, drew, engineered down to the elevator counts, and almost never built. A phantom metropolis, more ambitious than anything that actually stands. The strange part isn't that they failed. It's why they failed. The cities we tried to build straight up, and the real reasons they stayed on paper. Here's the idea every one of these shares. A normal city is scattered, homes here, work there, a road between them, and your whole day spent crossing the gaps. So the architect asks, what if I delete the gaps? Stack the housing, the offices, the schools, the parks, the farms, all of it, into one continuous structure and connect them with elevators instead of commutes. On paper, it's almost perfect. No traffic, no sprawl, no wasted land. The city becomes a single machine, and you are always already inside it. Hold on to that word, machine, because it's exactly where every one of these dreams is going to break. Let me show you the first one. It's 100 years old. In 1919, in a Russia still smoking from revolution, the artist Vladimir Tatlin designed a building that was never meant to be just a building. It was called the Monument to the Third International. We know it as Tatlin's Tower. A vast leaning spiral of iron, glass, and steel. About 400 meters tall, taller than the Eiffel Tower, which was exactly the point. The Eiffel Tower was the symbol of the old industrial world. Tatlin's was meant to outbuild it and announce a new one. But here's the part that makes it a vertical city and not a sculpture. Inside that spiral hung 4 enormous glass volumes, and each one was supposed to rotate. A cube at the bottom turning once a year, holding the lawmakers. A pyramid above it turning once a month for the executives. A cylinder turning once a day, broadcasting news to the whole city. A building that moved at the speed of the institution inside it. It was going to be the headquarters of world revolution. And then, nothing. The young Soviet state had no steel to spare, no money, and soon no appetite. The whole thing existed only as a wooden model that toured the country and then mostly fell apart. But every architect who has ever drawn a city as one moving organism is, knowingly or not, holding Tatlin's pencil. He proved you could design a building that wasn't a container for a city. It was the city. The next people to take that seriously did it on the other side of the world. And they aimed it at the sea. Skip ahead 40 years to a country with the opposite problem. Post-war Japan, cities flattened, 10 million people in Tokyo, and almost no flat land left to grow on. So in 1960, a group of young architects published a manifesto with an unusual word on the cover: metabolism. The idea was that a city shouldn't be built like a monument that stands still. It should be built like a living thing, a permanent skeleton of cores and infrastructure, with smaller parts that could be plugged in, grown, and replaced as the city aged. A city with a metabolism. And the most radical of them, Kainori Kikutake, looked at the one direction Japan had infinite room: the water. His marine city and tower-shaped community, drawn between 1958 and the early 60s, were floating cities. Huge circular platforms riding on the sea, residential towers growing up from the rim, and hanging beneath the waterline a great bottle-shaped bulb to keep the whole thing stable. A city with a keel. The structure would even double as a farm, the lower levels teeming with aquaculture. At the same moment, their teacher, Kinzo Tange, unrolled his plan for Tokyo. Not a tower, but an 18-kilometre megastructure striding straight out across the bay on a spine of stacked highways, meant to carry 5 million more people. None of it was built. Not one platform, not one floating tower. The engineering wasn't crazy. Japan would later build entire airports on artificial islands. What stalled was the thing underneath the engineering. Who owns a city on the sea? Who governs it? Who pays to start it? The drawings, though, became the genetic code for every megastructure that followed. And the next generation didn't want a floating city. They wanted the tallest object on Earth. 1995. The Japanese construction giant Taisei Corporation unveils a number that still doesn't sound real. A tower 4,000 meters tall. For kilometers, straight up. They called it the Exceed 4000, and they shaped it deliberately like Mount Fuji, because it would have stood about 200 meters taller than Fuji actually is. A man-made mountain, with a base 6 kilometers wide planted in the sea, 800 floors, and room for somewhere between 500,000 and 1 million people inside a single building. Read that again. The population of a major city in one tower. It had its own weather to deal with. The pressure and temperature would change measurably from the bottom to the top, so the building had to manage its own internal climate like an atmosphere. And here is the honest, almost funny truth about the Exceed. It was never meant to be built. Taisei has openly said it had no intention of ever constructing it. So why design 4 kilometers of fully engineered tower you'll never pour? Because the drawing itself was the product. A firm that can credibly design the tallest structure ever conceived is a firm you trust with your merely enormous real project. The Exceed was an advertisement the size of a mountain. And as advertising, it worked perfectly. It got talked about for 30 years. It's the purest example of the pattern in this whole video. The megastructure that succeeds completely as an idea, precisely by never being burdened with becoming real. But not every Japanese giant was bluffing. One of them drew a timeline and put a finish date on it. The Shimizu Corporation looked at the same crowded Tokyo Bay and answered with a different shape entirely. A pyramid. The megacity pyramid, also called Tri-2004, would rise 2,004 meters over the water. And it is genuinely one of the strangest structures ever seriously drawn. It isn't solid. It's an open lattice, a giant three-dimensional truss, and inside that frame sit 5 more pyramids, each one about the size of the Great Pyramid of Giza, stacked on top of each other. Suspended through the hollow interior, residential pods, offices, transport running along the diagonal struts. A city of 1 million people living inside the skeleton of a mountain-sized pyramid. And then Shimizu admitted the catch, out loud. With today's materials, this building cannot be built. It's too heavy to hold itself up. The entire design depends on materials we don't have yet at that scale. Carbon nanotubes, graphene, super strong, feather-light stuff still mostly living in laboratories. So they did something no other firm on this list dared. They published a schedule anyway. Begin construction around 2030. Finish around 2110. An 80-year build for a building that can't exist until chemistry catches up. That's not really architecture anymore. It's a bet on the future, drawn at full scale. A note to a generation not yet born, saying, when you finally have the material, here's the city we'd have built. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Pacific, someone wasn't waiting for new materials. He was copying termites. In 1991, an architect named Eugene Tsui looked at San Francisco and proposed something 2 miles high. Not 2,000 feet, 2 miles. Around 3,200 meters, 500 stories. And at its base a single mile across. The Ultima Tower could hold up to 1 million people. But what makes it interesting isn't the height. By now you're numb to the height. It's where Tsui got the shape. He didn't draw a box, or even a spire. He looked at the two structures in nature that are best at standing impossibly tall and dense: the trunk of a tree and the mound of a termite colony, and he copied them. A wide, tapering cone, because that's the shape that shrugs off wind and shrugs off earthquakes, which in San Francisco is not optional. Inside, it wasn't meant to be floor after identical floor. It was a framework, an artificial landscape, with internal lakes, planted terraces, its own air drawn up through the structure the way a termite mound breathes. Less a skyscraper than a vertical ecosystem you happen to live in. And of course it was never built. There was no client on Earth who needed a single building for 1 million people, no financing that made sense, no city that would zone it. But the Ultima quietly made a point the glass towers missed. If you really are going to stack a whole city into one object, maybe it shouldn't look like a machine at all. Maybe it should look like something alive. One architect spent 50 years actually trying to find out. And he picked up a shovel. Everything so far has been a drawing. This one you can visit. In 1970, the Italian-American architect Paolo Soleri broke ground in the high Arizona desert on a town meant to prove his life's theory. He called it arcology, architecture fused with ecology. The argument: a city sprawled flat across the land wastes everything: energy, water, time, the land itself. So fold it. Make it hyperdense, three-dimensional, walkable end to end, and let the building itself do the work a city normally burns power to do. Catch the sun, shade itself, channel its own air. The prototype was Arcosanti, designed to hold 5,000 people. He built it by hand, with volunteers, casting concrete in beds of the desert silt right under their feet, earth casting. And here we hit the honest number. After more than 50 years of continuous work, Arcosanti is roughly 5% built, not 5,000 residents, somewhere between 50 and 80. The last major building went up in 1989. So is it a failure? As the city Soleri promised, yes, completely. But that's the wrong test, and it tells you everything about this whole list. Every other megastructure here died as a clean drawing, perfect and untouched. Arcosanti is the one that walked out of the page and into the sun, and got slow and underfunded and hard and human. It didn't fail because the idea was wrong. It stalled because building a city as one object, with real people and real money, turns out to be the slowest thing in the world. Which brings us to the one with the biggest name attached, and the same ending. By the 1990s, the megastructure dream had a new kind of believer, the global celebrity architect. In 1996, Rem Koolhaas and his office OMA proposed the Hyperbuilding for Bangkok. 1 kilometre tall, designed to house 120,000 people. A self-contained city on the bank of a river. And Koolhaas was explicit that it was not a tower. It was a cluster, several structures fused into one, with housing, offices, schools, hospitals, and public parks all braided together. Connected not by one core of elevators, but by an internal transit system, cable cars, gondolas, express elevators, and a walkable promenade 12 kilometers long looping through the building. Soccer field-sized platforms hung in the structure as sky parks. The pitch was the oldest one on this list. Eliminate the commute by making the city a single object. But now with the most famous architect in the world behind it. It was a commission study. It never advanced past the concept. 10 years later, they tried to revive a shrunken version in Kentucky, of all places. That died too. And this is worth sitting with. Even Koolhaas, even fame, even a real commission, couldn't push a vertical city off the page. Because the obstacle was never the architect's reputation or the engineering. Quick nod, since people always ask, Frank Lloyd Wright drew a literal mile-high tower for Chicago back in 1956. The Illinois. 120 years of this dream, and the same result. The wall they all hit is the same wall. Let me name it. The Council on Tall Buildings, the people who actually keep the records, maintain an archive of skyscrapers and vertical cities that were formally proposed, engineered, sometimes priced down to the last elevator, and then abandoned. Line them all up and you get this. A phantom skyline more ambitious than anything humanity has ever actually constructed. And here is the pattern I genuinely cannot unsee after staring at these for years. Almost none of them died because we couldn't build them. The math, the steel, the engineering, mostly solvable, then or soon. They died because of the one thing every drawing leaves out. A city isn't a single object. It's millions of people who will not agree to live inside one machine, however perfect, however efficient, however beautifully drawn. The gap between the diagram and the human being. That's the wall. That's what's haunting every one of these blueprints. So when you see the next render of a perfect vertical utopia, the city in one tower, the machine you never leave, enjoy the drawing. It's probably gorgeous. But ask the only question that has ever actually mattered. Would a real person want to live their whole life inside it? That single question is the graveyard all of these fell into. The race for the sky was never really won by what got built. It's defined by what almost was. And every generation, someone picks up that same pencil, Tatlin's, Kikitake's, Soleri's, and tries again. If you find that as quietly amazing as I do, the channel is full of these. Stick around, I'll keep drawing them for you.